Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let us learn a few NCERT questions on the chapter metals and non-metals, primarily the displacement reaction. First problem, what would you observe when zinc is added to a solution of iron 2 sulfate? Write the chemical reaction that takes place. So iron sulfate, the formula is FeSO4 and iron sulfate is greenish in color. So when it reacts with zinc, okay, so when it reacts with zinc, see here mainly we have to understand the reactive series. Zinc is more reactive than iron. So zinc will displace iron from iron sulfate to give rise to zinc sulfate and iron. So this is the example, that is the type of reaction which is called as displacement reaction, which already we have learned in chapter 1. So here the main important to note to be noted is the reactive series. And here according to the reactive series, zinc is more reactive than iron and hence zinc will displace iron. So this is the reaction. Now as I already told you, ferrous sulfate is greenish in color and zinc is silver. So once the reaction happens, zinc sulfate is formed which is colorless, and there is formation of iron that is solid which is green color. So zinc and iron are solid, ferrous sulfate and zinc sulfate are aqueous. Okay, let's go to the next question. Which of the following pairs will give displacement reaction? First one, NaCl solution and copper metal. Second one, MgCl2 solution and aluminium metal. Third option, ferrous sulfate solution and silver metal. Fourth one is silver nitrate and copper metal. So first, let us just go on by knowing each of the reaction, whether it's possible or not, and what is the reactive series. So now the first one, sodium and copper. So we know that sodium is more reactive than copper, and hence copper cannot displace sodium from NaCl. Now moving on to the second option, magnesium and aluminium. Again, magnesium is more reactive than aluminium and hence aluminium cannot displace magnesium from MgCl2. So first and second option, there is no displacement reaction happening. Now moving on to the third option, silver, iron and silver. Silver is again less reactive than iron and hence silver cannot displace iron from iron sulfate. Now the fourth option, silver nitrate and copper. So 100% silver is less reactive than copper and copper can easily displace silver from silver nitrate. Okay, so hence the option would be D. Now next, let us go to the next question. Okay, so this is a reactive series. Potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminum, zinc, iron, tin, lead, hydrogen, copper, mercury, silver and gold. Now we have the third problem. Here they've given a tabular column. In the first column they've given metal oxide, zinc oxide, magnesium oxide, copper oxide. And in the other three columns they've given zinc, magnesium and copper. So now the question is, in which of the following displacement reaction takes place? So the first thing is that zinc, of course, cannot displace zinc from zinc oxide, so that's not possible. And magnesium, displacing magnesium from magnesium oxide, not possible. Copper oxide, not possible because they are the same metal. So here, whenever we're talking about displacement, we have to remember that a stronger or more reactive metal will displace less reactive. So since they are similar, zinc oxide, magnesium oxide, copper oxide, they cannot displace from one another. Now next, let us go to the next option, that is zinc oxide and magnesium. So now here we should understand that magnesium is definitely more reactive than zinc. So hence magnesium will displace zinc from zinc oxide. So displacement will happen. Okay. And the next option, copper and zinc oxide. Here copper is less reactive than zinc. Copper cannot displace zinc from zinc oxide. Now, the coming to the magnesium oxide, zinc and magnesium oxide. Here again, zinc is less reactive than magnesium, hence zinc cannot displace magnesium from magnesium oxide. Now, the last option for magnesium oxide, copper and magnesium oxide, again not possible. Copper is less reactive than magnesium, hence that is also not possible. Now, moving on to the next, copper oxide and zinc. Definitely, zinc is more reactive than copper, hence it will displace copper from copper oxide. And the next one is magnesium and copper oxide. Again, definitely magnesium more reactive than copper, and hence magnesium will displace copper from copper oxide. So now here we finally get three correct answers. I mean, three displacement reaction, that is between zinc oxide, magnesium, copper oxide, zinc, and copper oxide and magnesium. So the other six reactions do not take place. Okay, so this is the how you have to fill the tabular column. All right, so now next let us go to the problem number 4. We have metals A, B, C, D. They have not mentioned the metal. And then we have iron sulfate, copper sulfate, zinc sulfate, and silver nitrate. And here they've already given some of the reactions which will happen and which will not happen. So the ones I have just put a mark, okay, so they are these, okay, they are the it refers to no reaction. Okay, so these, the dotted lines that I've mentioned, they refer to no reaction. But however, there are two informations given to us. One is when B reacts with iron sulfate, there is displacement reaction. And one more thing is that when C is reacting with silver nitrate, there is displacement reaction. So now the first question is, which of the following metals are most reactive? A, B, C, or D? So it's very simple, students, how we will analyze this. Okay. So now let us look at the compound given, iron sulfate and silver nitrate, because only under these there is displacement happening. Now it's very clear that iron is more reactive than silver, Fe is more reactive than silver. So hence, if there's any metal which can um, displace iron, okay, then definitely it's going to be more reactive than the rest of the metal. Okay, so here iron is reactive, sorry, iron sulfate is being, sorry, iron from iron sulfate is being replaced by metal B, then obviously it's very clear that B is going to be most reactive. Okay, that's the option. That's the first question. Which of the following metals, A, B, C, or D, is most reactive means B is going to be the answer. Because silver is less reactive compared to iron. And if there is and B is able to replace iron from iron sulfate. So hence B is going to be the correct answer. That B is most reactive metal out of A, B, C, D. Now the second question is that what would you observe when metal B is added to solution of copper sulfate? So when metal B is added to copper sulfate, a displacement reaction is going to take place. See now, copper sulfate. See, copper sulfate, what's the color? It's blue color. Okay. And then if you think there is any metal which can replace iron, so let's go back to the reactive series. Okay, so now just observe here, students. We have iron, okay, getting replaced. So if I consider the next element, if I consider B to be zinc, okay, if I take B to be zinc, then it's very clear that when zinc reacts with copper sulfate, it's going to give rise to zinc sulfate and copper. So now zinc sulfate is going to have a color which is going to fade. I mean to say the copper sulfate color will fade because copper sulfate is blue color, and because of the displacement happening, copper sulfate color is going to fade and it will give rise to zinc sulfate. And with that, there'll be copper metal formed. So there will be reddish brown deposit of copper, and there will be colorless solution of zinc sulfate. Okay, so that's how we have to analyze what can be ABCD. Okay, so if B is able to replace copper sulfate, then B has to be some element stronger than, some metal stronger than iron. So that's the reason why. I mean to say iron, not copper sulfate. If it is able to replace iron, then definitely it has to be um, something more reactive than iron. That's going to be zinc. So that's why I'm taking B as zinc. Okay, so B I'm taking it as zinc, and hence if I be zinc, so now if I consider B to be zinc and zinc is reacting with copper sulfate, it will give rise to zinc sulfate and copper. Okay, so now copper is brownish color deposits, you can see, and zinc sulfate will be colorless. Okay, so the answer to the question, what would happen, what would you observe when metal B is added to solution of copper sulfate? It will give rise to zinc sulfate, and there will be a fading of the blue color solution of copper sulfate, and there will be reddish brown deposit of copper. Okay, now moving on to the third question. Arrange the metals A, B, C, and D in order of decreasing reactivity. So now we have to arrange the metals A, B, C, D in the order of decreasing. So we have to start with the most reactive. So as I already told you, B is going to be the first most reactive metal, because as I already told you, B is able to displace iron, and iron is also is one of the most it's moderately reactive. So hence B is going to get the first position, and next is going to be A. Okay, so A is going to be the next one. So here, students, there is displacement. Okay, just left that gap. So here there's displacement. Now, why A is because again, there is the metal A is able to displace copper, and copper is coming under the reactive series of least reactive. Okay, so it falls under the least reactive metal. So if there's any metal able to um, displace copper, then obviously we are going to give that the second position. Now the third one is going to be option C, because here again observe metal C is able to displace silver. So that's why C. And the last option is going to be D, because D does not displace any of the metals. So would be something, a native metal like a gold, like gold, silver, or platinum, which will never react with any of the other metals. Okay, so this is going to be the order. B most reactive, D least reactive, A is second most reactive, and C is the third most reactive. Okay, so this type of questions, these are all NCERT questions. Okay, study well. Thank you.